For dinner on Wednesday, Wednesday the 10th, I have the seasoned vegetable blend and a few little broccoli florets that were left over. Those are going in the air fryer with a little bit of olive oil. I have a can of beans. These should be gluten-free. Yep, gluten-free. Good to go. I have a little bit of corn I found left in the freezer. And we have my nice powder. Alright, sorry about the noise, but an added challenge to this whole thing is while we're waiting for our new kitchen to be finished, which is just taking so long, our oven is really no longer working very well, so we're making do with the top of the stove and the air fryer and the oven at absolute last resort because it takes forever to heat up and doesn't hold a steady temperature at all. It barely gets up to 300 degrees, so doing the best we can. Here are my roasted veggies. I really didn't like the seasoning on these veggies when I first bought them. I got them because they were on clearance and I figured we would try them, but I bought a lot of them. In the air fryer, they're actually pretty good. So there they are. I have this jar where I'm regrowing some green onions and they were ready to be trimmed. So I chopped them up and put them in with the corn. And this is like a roasted corn. That's why it's kind of black. And then the beans are hot. Steak is going. I'm undecided if I'm going to eat before yoga or after yoga. I have to say, I normally go to yoga a few times a week because I really do need it for my mental health and just my issues with my body and how tight it gets. I find it very helpful, but I really haven't gone very much since like the end of November. I basically only had one good week where I went 4 times, and other than that I haven't gone at all because I've been so sick. So I'm going to try to go today. It's Wednesday. Try to get back on track, and hopefully I do not get another bug that's going around. As you can probably tell, my voice is still pretty much gone. It comes and goes, and I still have a cough, but I mean, I'm not sick. I just have like residual irritation, so we'll see how it goes. Alright, so this steak just needs to rest a few minutes. I'm not going to eat this whole gigantic steak. I'm probably just going to eat like a third of it and save the rest for other meals. I have my beans, my corn, and my vegetables, and then I have some A1 sauce that I may have on the steak, and that is Wednesday night dinner. And I don't normally eat before yoga, but I am so hungry, so I'm going to eat this and then head off to yoga. Have a great night. Okay, it's Thursday night. I'm actually going to get sauce going in the crock pot, and we will have it tomorrow. It will have meatballs and sausage in it, and I'll make some kind of side tomorrow, but I don't know what. I think probably roasted broccoli in the air fryer and some lentil pasta. So I have 3 jars of tomato sauce that is homemade out of my garden. That was in the freezer. I let it thaw. I have tomato paste that needs to be used up. If I need more sauce, I have these 2 organic tomato sauces that need to be used. They're past their expiration date or their best by date. This sauce was not heavily seasoned, so I have Italian seasoning. This is dried celery I'm trying to use up. I'll throw some of that in there. And some garlic powder. I pulled a package of sweet Italian sausage that I froze back in August of 2022. That's pretty old, but I'll chop it up into chunks and put that in the crock pot. And then I have some ground beef that I did have in the fridge, but it didn't thaw at all. Thawing, and I will cook up some meatballs and add those in as well. And then let it cook on high for like 3 or 4 hours. And hopefully around 8 or 9 o'clock tonight, I will put it away and we will have food for tomorrow. Okay, I have the sauce from the freezer, the tomato paste from the freezer, and 1 can of the organic tomato sauce from Costco in here, along with the spices, and I'm just mixing it up. The crock pot is on high. I'm going to let it go for a little while before I do anything else. I may end up adding the other can of tomato sauce in and a little bit more seasoning if I decide it needs it after I add the meat. So while the meat is thawing, for the meatballs, I have these little shallots that are still left from the garden. They are holding surprisingly well. None of them have gone soft. They've been sitting in here since, when did I harvest these? August, September, maybe before that. And then this is the garlic that is 2 years old that I found hanging in the closet. So we will use probably all of this garlic because why not? And these shallots and some other seasonings in the meatballs. Alright, I just ate leftover taco casserole. My husband is making the last of a little bit of french fries and some chicken nuggets that he found in the freezer in the air fryer. And I am making meatballs to go in the crock pot, and we will have this tomorrow. I just took out a single portion of zuppa toscana that I had in the freezer, and that is what I'm bringing for lunch tomorrow. And I actually just want to show you. I didn't show you this before, but this freezer was so full that the door would pop open on its own. And there are entire giant holes where things used to be. And on top of this, I went and took stuff from my deep freezer that's at my parents' house and moved it into our new freezer in our new kitchen that we can't use yet. But we have been using the freezer. And we've been cleaning out the deep freezer too. I actually have like maybe a quarter of the deep freezer empty as well. So we've been doing really good eating through our freezer food. And then I will show you, I'm sorry I never showed you before, but I cleaned out the pantry. This used to be so full that you would open it up and things would fall out also. And now things actually fit inside. We do have boxes with things underneath, but there are actually holes where I could put more things. And then I have a little bit of overflow in the other room, but it's not a whole lot, and I should be able to eventually fit everything in here. I do have a baking cabinet in there too. Can't do a lot of baking right now because the oven is not working anymore. So, pretty good. So in here I have my ground beef, an egg, Italian seasoning, minced onion and garlic, salt, pepper, and gluten-free breadcrumbs. And these are the gluten-free breadcrumbs that I have right now. And I'll make up these meatballs. I'm going to fry them up in a pan just to get them started and then drop them into the crock pot and then cut up the sausage and drop them in as well. It is about 6 o'clock, but if I leave it on high, it should be pretty much cooked before I go to bed, and then I'll be able to put it away. All right, the meatballs and sauce are all done. Now I just need them to cool a little so I can put them away. It is Friday, January 12th. We're going to go out to dinner with some gift cards that we have, and we're staying home. I'm not really up for going anywhere, despite the fact that I would like someone to serve me some food. So I have this bag of red kidney beans that has been in the pantry forever, and I'm going to soak it and buy just a few ingredients to make red beans and rice. I have almost everything. I've never made red beans and rice before. All I need is a sausage, bell pepper, parsley, and it says a ham hock, but I might just substitute some ham for the flavor or some bacon grease or something, just to get the flavor, because I don't know if I'm going to buy that. I will look and see what the price is. I'm going to roast up some broccoli in the air fryer, and then I'm going to cook up this little half box of gluten-free pasta that I had in the pantry. It's not even half a box. It's very little, but it'll be enough to get by. And I have some other types of pasta that are partial that I could cook up if we end up needing more for leftovers. All right, here's the broccoli I bought at the grocery store this week. I cut it up, washed it, put it in the air fryer with salt, pepper. Oh, it's steaming up. With salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and roast it up. Then I threw a little Parmesan cheese and lemon juice on top and threw it back in for like 30 more seconds. And then a little bit of pasta that I had, I just tossed it with a little bit of sauce so it doesn't stick. And we're heating up our sausages and meatballs and sauce from last night. And I'll show you my plate when it's all ready. All right, here is what my plate looks like. In my usual fashion, I will probably also have a little bit of sauerkraut with this just for gut health. But that is dinner. Yeah. All right, it's Saturday afternoon, I never know what the date is, January 13th. And I have some reduced onions from the grocery store. I bought a bell pepper. I bought some smoked sausage. I have everything else I need to make red beans and rice. I've never made this recipe before. I'm just going off of a recipe that I found online and loosely adapting it. It does call for a ham hock, and that is not something I was going to buy today. I didn't have good options at the grocery store, but also I am on a pantry purge, so I am not trying to buy additional things. I do have some bacon grease that I can use to kind of give it a smoky bacon flavor. I have smoked paprika. I can make it work. And I bought smoked sausage instead of andouille sausage because I didn't feel like anything too spicy. I do still have some frozen jalapenos that maybe I can add a couple in just to add a little bit of spice. So what I'm going to do is chop up the onion. It says 1 large onion. I have these onions that are Some of them I bought reduced today. I bought them all reduced today, but some of them are getting soft, so I'm just going to pick the ones that need to be used right away and get those in the pan with some oil, and I will update you as I go along. All right, so I have the onions in the pan, and the recipe says to cook for 5 to 6 minutes and soften. And while this is happening, I'm going to cut up some of the other things that I need for this recipe. All right, so off recipe, but I did decide to use just a little bit of these frozen jalapenos that I have in my freezer. These are garden jalapenos from last season, just to add a little bit of heat since I'm not using andouille sausage, and this is something I want to get rid of in my pantry challenge, so that will help me on that path. So this recipe calls for Cajun seasoning, and I don't have any, but I looked up a recipe online, and it looks like I have everything to make it. One of the ingredients is smoked paprika, and I got this gigantic thing of smoked paprika a while ago, and it was on clearance for $11, and we've had it forever. So it is in this tin, and I feel like it keeps really well in here. So I'm going to make Cajun seasoning. I'm actually probably going to double or triple the recipe so that I have it for other things if I want to try it out. If you're making something once, double or triple it, and then you have more for later, and it doesn't really take that much more effort. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll show you. In here I have the peppers, the celery, and the onion all softening. I'm going to add in the garlic and the seasoning as soon as I make up my Cajun seasoning mix. All right, here's my homemade Cajun seasoning with homegrown oregano and thyme in it. So this recipe calls for Cajun seasoning, thyme, and a bay leaf. So I'm going to add that in now along with my garlic that I'm going to crush in my, I am not focusing, garlic press. There's just some spices on the cutting board from when I made this mix. I'm not concerned. Okay, so there's a little bit of a dilemma. I looked at a recipe last night and it used cooked, like from dry beans, and they cooked along with the recipe, and then I clicked on a recipe that I thought was the same recipe today, and it uses cans of beans, so that's not going to work because my beans are dry and soaked. So I looked at another recipe that used soaked beans, and I'm basically combining the two recipes to make it work. So let me turn you around for a minute. Yes, there's a sign that says do not open that door because of cats, because of construction. In case you see that in the background, things are crazy. I have 1 can of this tomato sauce that needed to be used up a long time ago left. The recipe calls for that. Calls for 2 cups of broth, but the other recipe calls for 6 cups of water to cook the beans in. So I am just going to use some broth, some bouillon, make 6 cups of liquid somehow, including the tomato sauce, cook the beans for 2.5 hours with the vegetables, and then I'll saute the sausage and add it in towards the end, and we should be good. Hopefully the beans cook nicely. I will cook up some rice for the side later, and yeah, hopefully it's delicious. I did make that homemade Cajun seasoning. It smells really good when it's cooking up. So the other thing is I don't have the ham hock. I am going to get a little bacon grease and put it in the bottom of the pan. I need a little bit more oil to finish sauteing these vegetables anyways, and that should add a nice smoky flavor. All right, I have everything in the pot. It needs to come to a boil and then simmer for about 2 to 2.5 hours until the beans are tender. And then I will get the sausage ready to go in. All right, so here's the red beans and rice. It took way longer to cook than I thought it would. It's like 7 o'clock now. I'm not sure if I would make this again, or if I made it again, if I would use like canned beans. But it is pretty good. It's just not my absolute favorite, but it did use up a lot of things we had on hand, including the beans, and we will enjoy it.